Welcome to part 2 of how to make a felted slipper. So what you're going to need for this part is your pool noodle. You can also use a wooden dowel if you have it, and you'll need a little bit of soap. So you might have by now decorated your slipper already. If you have, you want to put a little bit of soap on top and wet that down and put your bubble wrap on and give it a massage. Make sure all of your designs have actually stuck to the surface and intertwined a little bit into the fiber so that when you're felting it, it doesn't come off the slipper. And how you do that is you put some water and some soap on your bubble wrap, and you just keep rubbing it. And you just want to do that until your design is stuck down. Using yarn and things like that, it'll take a lot longer to stick down, so I recommend just using some wool roving, anything that sticks quite easily. You can use silk gauze, or anything that attaches to the fibers quite easily. So something I do before I start felting is I just want to mark the bottom of my slipper. So I grab another piece of color and I'm just going to put it on the bottom part of my slipper. And that's so I know that that is my heel. And the reason I do that is because once the slipper is felted, I'm actually going to cut a hole where the foot slides in. The soap is going to help the fibers move a little bit as we're rolling our project, and they're just going to help the fibers move together and intertwine and lock in place. I'm going to begin rolling our slipper. So what you want to do is grab your noodle and you want to put it directly on top of the slipper at the bottom of your slipper. If you put your pool noodle before the slipper and you begin rolling your slipper up like this, it will push the slipper forward and push all the fiber forward. And so to help prevent that from happening, you just want to put it on top, and then you want to gently roll your slippers. And at this point you have the bubble side touching your resist on both sides. So bubble side down. You're just going to roll your slipper up, and you want to roll it up very, very gently. You don't want to roll it tightly at this point, and the first part of the process is a little bit finicky. It might come apart or loose, but you just want to roll back and forth to get the fibers to start to agitate, and you don't want to apply any pressure. So you don't want to push on it, you just want to lay your hands gently on it, and you want to roll it back and forth. You want to keep your hands open and not on the roll like this, because if you roll the fiber like this, the bubble wrap won't move. And the idea is that the bubbles help the fibers agitate. So we actually want the bubble wrap to move a little bit. And so the way to do that is just to allow it some space and keep your fingers open and not grabbing the project. It'll take a lot longer to felt that way. So it's already come loose. I've only done about 10 rolls. I like to do 50 rolls, 30 rolls to start, and then 50 rolls on every side. So I'm going to go around 4 sides, top to bottom, and then I like to flip it and roll the width way from top to bottom. You can go around like a clock, but I like to do top and bottom. It doesn't matter which way you go that much. It looks like I need a little bit of water on the bottom of my slipper. Because the process is so long, the water just cools down, and so I don't bother using warm water until the end. I might add some to get this slipper to shrink more quickly. Okay, so usually if I have a design on my slipper, I like to roll the slipper with the design face down on the bubble wrap until it's stuck. So if you have a design, make sure you have it face down, and you'll roll that way pretty much for the whole time. Okay, so I'm going to roll about 30 sides on each side to start. So that's about 30. I'm going to bring my roll close to me because you don't want to hurt your back. Normally when I turn the roll, I turn it rolled up. It's just a little bit easier. And then you just want to straighten things out. So like I said, it can be a little bit finicky at first. It will get easier as we go. Sometimes it can get too soapy, and so you just want to dilute it with some more water. It can be more difficult to felt if there's air bubbles in it, and so water helps remove the air bubbles created often by the soap. Okay, so I roll it up again nice and gently, and I just like to do short motions at first. sometimes your slippers will come out of the bubble wrap. I would just flip it to the next side and continue on. It really doesn't need to be an exact amount of rolls or anything, because it's going to be quite a long process, and each side will shrink evenly as we go. So my bubble wrap, my towel is quite wet. I like to just put a fresh towel on top if I need to. So we've just done 2 rounds. I'm gonna do 2 more rounds. So once the fiber's attached together, you can begin applying a little more pressure, and the little bit more pressure is just gonna help the fibers felt a little bit faster every time. Just give them a little toss, get some of those wrinkles out. I would say they are ready for their holes now. So we've done approximately 4 rounds of 50 rolls. Anyway, you can do like more or less. I could felt them a little bit more. I could do another round if I wanted to. I would definitely prefer to have them more felted before I cut my holes. Okay, so now it's time to put a hole in our slipper and take out the resist. And to do this, I have a template that I use. I have a few different sizes for different size slippers. This is the shape of the template I have here. I'll show on my slipper. I attained that shape by taking an already made felted slipper or half made already felted slipper and cutting out the shape when it wasn't quite ready, just to get like how I would get that shape. So if you wanted any other shape for yourself, you could test it by making a template. You could do it on paper even, and just cut out the shape that you would want your slipper to be if you want it to come up higher here. That's kind of how I made my template. I have a few different templates, one where the lip kind of comes up here. That's an interesting one. 3 to 4 centimeters from the bottom. So it is about 4 centimeters from the bottom. I like to have 4 centimeters from the bottom because I really like this little lip on the back here. It kind of holds your foot in, and it's just a little bit more cozy, and then you don't step on it. And so 4 centimeters from the back. You might want to go a bit longer if you're making a larger size. Like it's that this is a size 7 slipper, and it will fit a size 8 when it's done, but it'll be snug, so it just depends on the style of slipper you want to make. And then from the edges, I don't usually measure it, I just eyeball it. I might check it. It's 3.5 here and 3.5 there. And so I'm happy with that. And I'm just gonna go ahead and puncture it and cut around the hole. I'm gonna try to feel around for the tape and the bubble, the foam, so that I don't cut completely through it. I like to start in the back, just in case there's a mark, you won't see it. And so I'm just gonna give it like a little pinch. I'm gonna apply some pressure and just give it a pinch. So I have a very sharp pointed scissors that I like to use. Looks like it's Fiskars. I really like these scissors, but it's the easiest way to get my hole started. Once I puncture the hole, I like to take a longer pair of fabric scissors to give a nice, smooth, and round cut. I can't say I have cut through to the resist completely, so you just want to make sure you can see it. And I'll just kind of hold my whole template in place and begin to cut. I like to make sure that I'm not cutting through the other side of the fabric, and I will carefully cut around as close to the edge as I can. Make sure the scissors aren't caught on anything and cutting through anything else. There we are. Just cut the little bits if it's still stuck. And so I've cut out my piece, and there we have our hole in our slipper, and you can take that out. And I can reuse that because I have taped it. And now we have our hole. And so now I'll do the next size, and you always want to do the other side. Before you begin felting this side, you want to also finish the slipper equally, otherwise they do end up shrinking different sizes. So when you finish this slipper a little bit, you want to finish this one a little bit, and so on. Okay, so I'll just give this a quick little measure. Okay, so we've cut our holes and we're going to finish the slipper. For me, this is one of the most important parts of the slipper making. This is the part where we sculpt it and make it look nice and smooth and shrink it to fit our foot exactly how we want it. Throughout this process, I like to keep my slippers as wet as possible. I try not to push the water out of the slipper. The water is needed to help felt the slipper and agitate the fibers and help them shrink. I'm going to put some water around the hole and keep them nice and wet, but not a waterfall. And I'm going to need some soap for this part. I'm just going to put it around the hole, not too much. Just get that hole a little bit soapy. I'm going to grab my bubble wrap. You give the hole a little bit of a massage if you like. We will continue finishing the hole and making the edges nice and smooth closer to the end. I'm going to put the whole side down. You don't have to, but you can. So I'm just going to give my project a roll, maybe 30 times on each side. Okay, so now we're going to take our slipper that is like this, and I'm going to turn it on the side. I'm just going to pinch both sides and pull it open so that it kind of looks like a boat. And then we have this shape. I'm just going to make it even on both sides. And you want your slippers to look like this. Just want a boat shape. So you can see there'll be this crease in the middle. So I just like to take both sides and just give it a stretch, quite the ripple in the middle. And so we're going to get that ripple out by rolling onto it. You can remove the bubble wrap now. So now I'm going to roll the slipper onto itself in this boat shape. I'm going to begin by rolling it up quite gently. I'm not rolling it tightly at all. So you don't want to like roll it too tightly. It's just a very gentle roll. At this point, it's going to shrink much more quickly. You can do one at a time. It's just a kind of a quick roll, and then flip them and also roll them from the heel. You don't have to roll the slipper completely all the way up. I just like to roll it halfway and give the heel a roll, however it's easiest for you. And then you want to turn them perpendicular, and you also want to roll them about 5 to 7 rolls that way. And then you want to take your boat, you want to kind of flip it inside out and roll it the other way as well. And that'll just help get that, that chunky spot out of the middle, and we'll keep going with that. I'll do the other side. I always do the other side so that the slippers shrink evenly, about 5 to 7 rolls. You don't have to count, just approximate I'll flip the boat inside out and roll it the other way. I don't usually turn it around and roll it from the whole side. I usually just roll it on one side. So now they're back. We've done all the sides. We're just going to continue this process until the slippers have shrunk. The slippers are going to shrink in the direction that you agitate them, or the direction that you roll them. And so if your slippers are looking out of proportion and they're more wide than long, then you might want to roll your slipper the width way more often, just to get it nice and even around as you shrink them, unless you have a wide foot and you want the slippers to be wider. So I'm going to roll these again and try and get this crease out. One of the techniques I use to get creases out and smooth is by rolling the felt against itself. And so you might have to hold the slipper if you want to try this. But I don't do too many rolls because it shrinks quite quickly. So that's about 5, and then I'll flip it on the other side. I might do the heel as well. Even just a few slides against itself really helps to get that crease out. And then we'll flip them back to the original shape that they were. So they are starting to look like slippers now. They're very huge. They're going to shrink a lot more. They're going to shrink more at the end. I'm just going to roll the slipper on itself to work on that crease a little bit more. This is how I roll the felt on itself. I find it makes a lovely texture when it's finished. And so I kind of use a few different techniques throughout the process. I'll just do the other one. You don't want your towel to be super soapy for this, otherwise it won't roll. So I'm kind of just pushing down into the towel and rolling. Okay, I'm going to roll the slippers in all directions in the original shape. I've done about 10 rolls on the toe. I like to have a lot of control in my slipper making process, and you can probably do it more aggressively if you want to get them felted faster. But I like to make sure my slipper shrinks evenly and smoothly on all sides. Okay, so now they are a little bit wide, and so now I'm going to flip it and I'm going to roll it on the width side. I've done about 20 rolls on the width side. I like to move my hands across the piece, especially in this toe area. So now I'm going to roll them back in the boat. A bit of a roll with my hand. I can flip it and do the other side. This one. So right now the edges are a little bit bumpy. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but to smooth those out and make them nice and round, I just give them a little shimmy. So at this point, you could begin putting them in the washing machine. I would say 15 minutes at a time on cold, and just see how you go with that, and take them out and check them. And then you could measure them first, put them in, take them out, measure them again, and just see how much they've shrunk, so you know, so that you know how long to put them in next time. Putting them on the heat is quite risky. They'll shrink quite quickly. You might not want to do that right away unless you have a little bit of experience with it. I actually don't. I haven't been using the washing machine to make my slippers, but now I'm beginning to use my washing machine. I'll show you how it's done. And I think they're about perfect. And so I'm very impressed with this wool. This is Corriedale wool from Ashford, and It's actually quite nice to felt with. I highly recommend felting with Corriedale wool for making slippers. It creates a really nice smooth finish. Get that on there. So I do want the backs to come up a little bit around the heel. These look super comfortable, super, super comfy. Whenever I make a pair of slippers, I want to make another one for myself, even though I already have some. Okay, so those are looking really good. Come into the shoe last, quite nice. And so those are done. They're quite wet. Now, normally I would take a dry towel and roll them on the towel, but I actually forgot to do that, so they're soaking wet, but that's okay. I'm just going to let them dry like this because they're now in really nice shape. And you do want to dry them in the shape, like you want to shape them and then dry them because the slippers will dry in that shape and take on that shape until you start wearing your slippers for a few weeks, and then the slipper will mold to your foot, but they will generally take the shape you dry them in, so it's nice to have them cute and perfect for when you're ready to put your feet in them. So I'm very happy with those. They're super thick, they're strong, they've been in the washing machine for a while, and so I think it's a really nice slipper. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please like this video and subscribe. I will be showing you how to put soles on your felt slippers, and so check back for that video.